Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to the show that counts down the days of the thief. Wait a minute, we forgot. The thief in chief. Yeah, the thief in chief. Yeah, all right. Good job, my friend. Yeah, I'm Danny, your host, Danny Thompson, here with episode 131. And that's just Monday through Friday, and I took a week off in the middle of it, and it's just been a couple of holidays, and it's 6 months of this. It's painful. The Biden regime, jeez. And then to add to our pain, we have problems with YouTube now, which, if you would, if I can get this to go away, let's see, what are we doing? We'll just start over here. Okay. All right, but if you would like to watch more, well, you can go on Rumble, channel DANWT, and we still use YouTube, channel Danny Thompson. But YouTube has said that I made false claims about the election in episode 113. So I appealed, and they said no. They're not going to allow episode 113 back. So it said check their policies. Well, we're going to check their policies. Elections, misinformation policies, certain types of misleading or deceptive content with serious risk of egregious harm, not just harm, but egregious harm, are not allowed on YouTube. This includes certain types of misinformation that can cause real-world harm, like certain types of technically manipulated content and content interfering with democratic processes. Now, I did not interfere with anything. If you find content that violates this policy, report it. Instructions for reporting violations of our community guidelines are available here. Click on these blue words. If you found multiple videos or comments that you would like to report, you can report the channel. Oh, man, got these people working on it. All right, what these policies mean for you. If you're posting content, don't post elections-related content on YouTube if it fits any of the descriptions below, noted below. All right, voter suppression. Content aiming to mislead voters about the time, place, means, or eligibility requirements for voting, or false claims that could materially discourage voting. I haven't done that. I've never discouraged voting. Candidate eligibility, content that advances false claims related to the technical eligibility requirements for current political candidates and sitting elected government officials to serve in office. Eligibility requirements considered are based on applicable national law and include age, citizenship, or vital status, I guess. I don't know. So, just for descriptive purposes, this is helping you to understand if you're posting on YouTube, like I did. This means if you say that Biden is senile and shouldn't be president, that could be wrong. That hurts his eligibility. Don't say that. If you said, hey, we still don't know if Obama is really a citizen of the U.S., don't say that. Now, I've never doubted that because his mother was a citizen, and it takes a whole lot more than saying I renounce my citizenship to actually renounce your citizenship. So I've never been sure. I realize there's things on the internet, his student ID saying foreign national. Okay, I don't know all that. But if you said that, you would be in violation. I've never said that. So, just explaining, YouTube censors. I'm just explaining. Don't say those things. Incitement to interfere with democratic processes. Content encouraging others to interfere with democratic processes. This includes obstructing or interrupting voting procedures. I have never done that once in my life. Distribution of hacked materials. Content that contains hacked info, the disclosure of which may interfere with democratic processes. I don't even know how to hack, so I haven't done that. U.S. presidential election integrity. I think this is where they think I crossed the line. Content that advances false claims that widespread fraud, errors, or glitches change. I have never claimed a glitch changed anything. Pretty much not against glitches, just on the surface anyway. You have to dig deeper into the glitches. But I have never maintained that glitches caused any harm whatsoever. Or glitches changed the outcome of any past U.S. presidential election. No, this applies to elections in the United States only. So if I want to say something about Morocco's elections, which I don't even know if they have, that's perfectly fine. If I say, hey, a glitch caused that, I won't get in trouble there. This is just U.S. elections. For the U.S. 2020 presidential election, this applies to content uploaded on or after December 9th, 2020. So, you have any problems with the 2020 election and you know, just keep it to yourselves, especially if you're saying there were widespread fraud, errors, or glitches. I don't think I've ever claimed there was widespread fraud. Now on the errors, even, people have said there were errors. I mean, major news outlets have said there's an error here or there. But I don't think I've ever said there were errors. I've never said, keep in mind that this isn't a complete list either. They don't really show you a complete list, but, we go on. U.S. presidential election integrity. These are examples. Claims that a candidate only won a swing state in the U.S. 2020 presidential election due to voting machine glitches that change votes. I've never said there were voting machine glitches. So, it's not a problem. I don't think there were random glitches. Could there have been non-glitches? No, well, it doesn't say you can't say that. It just says glitches. Might have been non-glitches, but we're just discussing rules. I'm not making any accusations or saying anything about the 2020. I just would like to know if it's just about glitches on the voting machine. Claims that dead people voted in numbers that changed the outcome of the U.S. 2016 presidential election. I've never seen a dead person vote in my life. I have actually had to go and stand in line to vote, and I never once saw one dead person. I saw some people that looked like they were close to death, but I've never seen a dead person. So if any dead person has ever voted, then that would be something to report. But you can talk about a dead person voting. You just can't make claims that dead people voted in numbers that would have changed the outcome of the 2016 election. So I'm assuming maybe it's okay to say that about 2020, but definitely not 2016. And how do they even register to vote? Oh, I get it. They don't mean actual dead people. They word it wrong. I'm going by their rules. I've never claimed a dead person vote. And we all know that no one uses voter registrations of deceased people. No one registers dead people to vote and uses their voter card. That never happens, especially in places like Chicago and other places like that. That's just movie theatrics. That's just conspiracy theories. But certainly we know zombies have not been coming to life and voting, at least not in numbers large enough to change any election results. So I agree with YouTube on that. Man, claims that fake ballots were dumped to give one candidate enough votes to win a state in a past U.S. presidential election. So, we're talking fake ballots here. It's what they're talking about, fake ballots. So they think that when you say something like a box of ballots were found randomly and it just happened to have enough votes in it to put a particular candidate over, that you think those ballots were fake. Well, I'm sure they're real ballots. So I don't have a problem. I have never claimed anything about fake ballots. I think they're real ballots. So there. Do I have questions about why they can't keep up with boxes of votes or thumb drives when that's their job to be election supervisors? I think those ballots should be out front and you know, they shouldn't be stacked away somewhere and you can find it a couple of days later or say 5 o'clock the next morning and it's more than enough. I mean, because that could happen. You could have a precinct come in that's pro one candidate or another. See, my problem is not with fake ballots. It's why are those boxes always hidden? Why do they trip over them and say, oh, I found some ballots? What kind of elections are we running in this country? Dead people voting, but not in significant numbers to change elections, and fake ballots. What is it, bring your own ballot night? Jeez. I mean, we've got to clean some of this up. We don't want this happening on YouTube. That bastion of truth. Come on, YouTube, I'm on your side. Well, let's clean this world up. They may allow content that violates the U.S. presidential election integrity policy noted on this page if the content includes additional context in the video, audio, title, or description. This is not a free pass to promote misinformation. Additional context may include countervailing views. Yeah, because there are some people that think zombies vote. There are some people that think there are fake ballots. I don't even know if we should bring those views up. There are some people, I don't know anybody that thinks glitches did anything. So, not sure about glitches. Or if the purpose of the content is to condemn, dispute, or satirize misinformation that violates our policies. So, if you want to say, hey, you wanted to do a joke about zombies voting in significant numbers to change elections, then that's okay. You know, I was standing in line with a bunch of zombies last night and they were counting to see if they had enough votes to change the outcome of the election. And you know what I found out? Zombies can't count because it was clear they were like 20 over. Ha ha ha. You know, bad joke, but I'm giving an example. I don't even know a lot of zombie jokes, especially zombie elections votes. Yeah, the zombies were out and they had enough people to change the election outcome, but one of them took a bite out of the election official and, you know, just all fell apart. I don't know. And to dispute. We dispute that zombies were out voting in significant numbers to change the election. We dispute glitches. Even though up in Michigan they had some glitches that counted wrong, but it did not change the outcome. So see, that would be okay to report on that as long as it isn't something that could have changed the outcome. And of course, none of these problems ever warrant supporting an audit of a precinct or recounts unless stipulated by law. That's my official stance. Well, Danny, you have hinted that Trump may have won the election. Was I being satirical? Was I just giving an opposing view? There are many people that think Trump won the election in a landslide due to glitches and fake ballots. Again, I've never thought there were fake ballots. I think the ballots are very real. So I don't know where that leaves me. But again, there are people that have that view, and clearly they cannot post on YouTube, or shouldn't. If they get caught, their video will be removed, and that would be embarrassing. So we don't want to do that. We want to be fine, upstanding citizens. I do not want to stop the democratic process. I just want it fair. I don't want people making laws that have no power to make the laws. I don't want people counting that may count suspiciously. They may count by fives instead of ones. But not that it happened in any of our elections, but it happens overseas. I don't like ballot boxes being scattered around the town, because you know what? Somebody may think that someone put a fake ballot in there. I think we need to keep this next election, the security tight, so these things won't happen. I don't know how anybody could do a fake ballot. I mean, first of all, a lot of them are electronic, but the mail-in ones are usually long. I mean, you'd have to go to a lot of work to manufacture ballots. Come on. But we certainly don't want people saying that they're doing that. So YouTube, I agree with you. We're copacetic. We're on the same page. We're on the same frame. That's right. All on the same frame. Go YouTube. Yeah. Thanks for hosting me. Thanks for running my channel. Thanks for letting me know when I'm out of line. Thank you. It means a lot. Okay. I'm moved by my own presentation and YouTube's generosity. No, really, YouTube does. I mean, you would think they made money on this, the way, you know, people get onto them. Because those ads they run, they don't pay for anything. Really, it's just public service announcements. Oh, here's a public service announcement. Here's Dr. Rachel and her brother Richard. No, wait a minute. That's Richard and his sister Rachel. No. It's the same person, only years apart. Richard, who became Rachel. Does Rachel ever turn back into Richard? I don't know. But we have a new song, especially for Richard and Rachel, and it's really all we have for them today, because we have other things to do, and I wasted so much time. Not wasted. I invested, YouTube, I invested time on making sure people understand how to post properly on YouTube. It's important to me.
Are we really happy with this lonely game we play? Looking for words to say, searching but not finding understanding anyway. We're lost in this masquerade.
Yes, lost in this masquerade. Bye, Doc. Bye, future Doc. These people don't even try to masquerade. Secular Democrats of America, whom you can find at seculardems.org. That's DEM, not DIM. Be kind. We're on YouTube. It's the kind place. You can find out how we're a godless society, a secular democracy, which we are neither, nor. There's some news today about Governor Cuomo, New York Governor Cuomo, who the Attorney General has reported that, wow, there were a lot of women and she thinks they're all credible and he should resign, if not be prosecuted and probably impeached, etc., etc. He gave a press conference today. And this may surprise you, New York Governor Cuomo, defiant after probe finds he sexually harassed women. Defiant. I didn't do it. Wasn't harassment. It was appreciation. I appreciated them. Anyway, it's all fun, right? I think we have something on that. I forgot to upload our thief in chief. What do we have on Cuomo? Should we do it now? Yeah, I guess so. Let's go ahead. Do it now, ladies and gentlemen. We'll do the Uncle Joe theme in a minute.
I'd like to start with the news of the day, given back in March you said that if the investigation confirmed the allegations against Governor Cuomo, then he should resign. So will you now call on him to resign, given the investigators said the 11 women were credible?
I stand by that statement.
Are you now calling on him to resign?
Yes.
And if he doesn't resign, do you believe he should be impeached and removed from office?
Let's take one thing at a time here. I think he should resign. I understand that the state legislature may decide to impeach. I don't know that for a fact. I've not read all that data.
And he's using a photo of you embracing him in his self-defense to say that these are commonplace kind of embraces that he made and the allegations against him. Do you condone that?
Look, I'm not going to fly-spec this. I'm sure there are some embraces that were totally innocent. But apparently the Attorney General decided there were things that weren't.
Wow, that was in-depth and moving, wasn't it? Yes, and he's not going to fly-spec it. I'm not sure on that one. I guess he doesn't want to get into the nitty-gritty details, but I'm not sure I ever heard that one. Maybe long time ago. Long time ago. Many years. Maybe I've heard it, but I don't know. I have to go back. I'm sure it's legitimate. And I think he should have got onto him for using those hugs. Maybe those hugs toward the president were untoward as well and shouldn't be used as an example of just a nothing hug. But then the rules are you can't just walk up and force a hug on somebody. It doesn't matter how you mean it. You might, I really like you. Why don't you come by and we'll talk later about how much? Yeah, but Cuomo was defiant. Now one thing I will say, and this same true, Democrat or Republican or independent or whatever Bernie Sanders is, an independent communist voice in the night trying to save us from our capitalistic error. Bernie Sanders, ladies and gentlemen. We put our left hand over our mouth so we'll never say it again. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just in a mood today. I don't like these things where just charges come up and you're proven guilty. I don't like it for politicians. I don't like it for real life people, even though politicians, I think, are zombies voting to change the outcome of an election. They just don't admit they're dead. Is Biden alive? That's a new rumor to get started in, and Biden's really a zombie. Yeah, you notice during these questions, he can tell he's well prepared. He hardly says a thing, but I don't think that's fair. I think you should say the proper answer should be, I think he should be, able to prove his case. He's accused. He's not found guilty yet. The Attorney General can't find someone guilty. Now, our Justice Department can, but not New York's. Our Attorney General, if he says you're guilty, you're guilty. But see, there we go. We just get into all kinds of things then. And pretty soon, we're talking about fake ballots. And I don't believe in fake ballots. I'm not talking about them. No, don't. We're not bringing up glitches either. I'm probably going to get completely banned from YouTube now, even though I'm not trying to. I'm trying to work within their framework, and I don't want people doing fake ballots. This just to add to the fun. Thanks, Johnny. Parts of Lake Tahoe closed after chipmunks test positive for plague. I think they got it from homeless people who are being forced out of Venice Beach and other places and having to find new places to live. So they went to Tahoe and gave the plague that's been reported around them to the poor little Tahoe chipmunks. And now they're closing down the lake, which is disappearing anyway and becoming all murky, where as before it was crystal clear because of climate change. Yeah, just the whole world's falling apart. Here we are, we're worried about COVID, and there's plague. Oh, I forgot to trim that one up. Disease expert. He's not a disease expert. He just plays one on TV. Disease expert tells CNN most masks don't really work against Wuhan coronavirus. Now, YouTube, I am not giving misinformation. I am not giving misinformation. I am just reporting what was reported on Hope I don't get the hiccups. CNN. I think if you start talking about how fake ballots don't exist, though, it cures the hiccups. Last week, the Centers for Disease Control, I've never said it was fake ballots. What are you people talking about? Last week, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued new Wuhan coronavirus guidance, and I admit that there is no proof that this came from Wuhan. I'm just reporting what happened on CNN. All right, keep this straight. I'm a journalist. I have integrity, like almost as good as Brian Wilson's and Dan Rather's. Yeah. Back to it. Urging Americans to wear a mask indoors regardless of their vaccination status to maximize protection from the Delta variant and prevent possibly spreading it to others. Wear a mask indoors in public if you are in an area of substantial or high transmission, the CDC released on their website Tuesday. Wearing a mask is most important if you have a weakened immune system or if because of your age or an underlying medical condition, you are at increased risk for severe disease, or if someone in your household has a weakened immune system, is at increased risk for severe disease, or is unvaccinated. So wear a mask at home. This applies to you or your household. You might choose to wear a mask regardless of the level of transmission in your area. And it's your choice. The guidance was a reversal from May when CDC said vaccinated individuals no longer needed to wear a mask. That's right. That's the whole problem. What happened? During a segment on CNN Monday afternoon, University of Minnesota Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy Director Michael Osterholm said cloth or paper masks don't work to stop the spread of the disease. Now, this comes out of Minnesota, and we know everything out of Minnesota is pure these days. That's right. They have conquered racism. They've conquered misinformation. They haven't conquered lightning, which doesn't seem to like particular murals, but that's a whole nother report. They're dismantling police departments. We can trust them. We can trust them. So, and sorry, forgot to take care of the profanity. My mind has been elsewhere today. The granddaughters are here and I'm doing this. This, of course, has been well known for over a year. Dr. Anthony Fauci told former Obama Health and Human Services Secretary Sylvia Burwell that store purchase masks do little to stop the spread of the disease. Now, we are going to wrap this up in a positive mask fashion, so YouTube, give me a chance. The typical mask you buy in the drugstore, that's where you mess up. I bought mine at Target. The typical mask you buy and not in the pharmacy area. It was right there by the women's clothing in a box. It had to be good. The typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. It might, however, provide some slight benefit in helping keep out gross droplets if someone coughs or sneezes on you. I do not recommend you wear a mask, Fauci wrote in an email on February 5th, 2020. But since then, science has evolved, and you know what? Those masks are well worth the investment. That's right. Especially if you were able to buy them when they were discounted and put on clearance because the CDC said we didn't need them anymore if we were vaccinated. This is an interesting article. I don't remember who did it, but it's by Robbie Whelan and Jared S. Hopkins. And it is an actual report on the discussions they had. Many in the CDC were not convinced that the vaccinated needed to mask up. CDC's COVID-19 mask mandate clouded by flawed data. Some health experts say agency relies on data that is lacking or inconclusive because they stopped tracking people the way they used to, and all kinds of other things, and they're just using spot data instead of wider trials. So, it's not a excuse me, it's not a unanimous decision on this. So, but that's not about masks. That's about, the efficacy of masks. It's about whether they need to be worn. Even the CDC doesn't agree. Maxine Waters. Now, ladies and gentlemen, see, this woman should be removed from YouTube and all social media because she is urging the president to break the constitutional boundaries that keep us all safe and alive and make this the country most people want to be in, except people that are ashamed of the country because it's just not the happy place it used to be. Anyway, Waters urges CDC to ignore Supreme Court ruling, extend eviction ban. Now, this woman, something's wrong with her. Obviously, that's just too long. I need a whole segment on that. Something's wrong. You would think she would just be happy by paying her daughter hundreds of thousands of dollars to run her election campaigns and funneling money to her daughter's company and etc. and going from not having much money to being a very wealthy woman and family. You think that would satisfy her? No, but she wants to violate the constitutional checks that our founders put into place. So, anyway, I find that disturbing, but YouTube doesn't. I'm sorry for the errant mark on the slide. I don't know how that happened. CDC says 7-day average of daily U.S. COVID cases surpassed peak seen last summer. But many people think we're close to the peak, except here, Louisiana, which they had a high rate last year, has a higher rate of COVID-19 infections than any country, not county, there's an R there, Danny, any country in the world. And they have a Democratic governor, can't figure that one out. Something's wrong in Louisiana, come on. Now this, there's a little, reminder of face mask on federal property. Breakthrough cases aren't the cause of the U.S. COVID-19 surge. It's not the fault of the vaccinated. Unvaccinated people still make up the vast majority of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. That's right. The vaccinated, the unvaccinated are the cause. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I refute that. Because you're unvaccinated, Delta already existed. It was in other countries before it was ever here. Whether you were vaccinated or not did not create the Delta virus. And certainly nobody was vaccinated against the original, which then mutated. So I think that's a little harsh. They blame us. There's no It didn't originate. How do we know the Delta variant didn't originate in a vaccinated person? Has that been proven? Have they found patient 0 yet? Why isn't it called patient 1? Why would it be called patient 0? I don't know. Never thought of it. Be patient 1. These people aren't patient. They're ready to get back to life, and the only way they can be assured of it is this: New York City to require proof of COVID-19 vaccination for indoor dining, fitness, and entertainment. So if you're going to New York City, you better have proof of vaccination, or you won't get into that show that you paid $100 or more a ticket for, right? Or you won't be able to eat in that. You'll have to eat at a little street cart. And I don't know, they might want to see your vaccination proof. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're halting on getting the vaccination, they're going to box you in pretty soon. How about you, Danny? I neither confirm nor deny that I have received or not received a vaccination. And I cannot do that unless approved by the secretary to give out that information. I don't have a secretary, so I don't know when the approval is going to be. No, I'm not vaccinated yet. But I'm not at a restaurant. I'm here. My kitchen table. No one else is here. Actually, my son's kitchen table. It's not even mine. Anyway, New York Archdiocese, because there has been questions. Peter Ducey asked Jen today, which we're not going to get to because I've wasted so much time today. But it wasn't a waste. It was important that we all understand YouTube's regulations. That's right. But the question came up, what about people who have religious objections to the vaccination? Well, that will not work if you are Catholic. Now, you can talk about abortion all day long and promote it and pass laws for it, and you're okay. But you cannot get a religious exemption over the vaccine. New York Archdiocese warns priests not to grant religious vaccine exemptions. The Catholic Medical Association, a national network of Catholic doctors and healthcare workers, stated on July 28 that it opposes mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations as a condition of employment without conscience or religious exemptions. Well, that was not met well by the Archdiocese. The Archdiocese of New York has instructed priests not to grant religious exemptions for COVID-19 vaccines, saying to do so would contradict the Pope. There is no basis for a priest to issue a religious exemption to the vaccine, stated a July 30 memo from the Archdiocese Chancellor John P. Cahill to all pastors, administrators, and parochial vicars in the Archdiocese. So, no religious exemption for you. If you ask, you may not even get communion. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. CDC had 16 destinations to very high COVID travel risk list. So, you're planning this as a public service announcement, and Louisiana isn't on here. All right, so the following 16 destinations moved to the CDC's level 4, very high category. Oh, we'll just put it up front big. Andorra, Morocco, Gibraltar. Spain and the UK have argued, and the European Union have argued over who has rights to Gibraltar, and the UK, hey, it's ours. Gibraltar, Greece, have some friends that just got back from Greece and made it just in time. Guadalupe, or if you want to see the Virgin, I mean, come on. Iran, Ireland, Isle of Man. How about Isle of Woman? How about Isle of thee or they? They or them. Kazakhstan, Lesotho, Libya, Malta, Martinique. Oh, Martinique's supposed to be lovely. St. Bartholomew, St. Martin, U.S. Virgin Islands. Ooh. Some other destinations that are on the list. Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, Maldives. Maldives is a cheap place to go by all the lists I've seen. Only a lot of flight expense. You got to factor that in. The Netherlands, Panama, Portugal, I have no idea, Seychelles, Spain, United Arab Emirates, who are manufacturing their own rain, and the United Kingdom. Don't go these places. It's bad for you. All right? All right, let's get into some Joe time.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
Yes, the pretend president, the puppet man himself, I'm only allowed out here because it keeps me out of the Oval Office every now and then. The man himself gave a little speech telling us how to defeat COVID, because he hasn't been able to so far, and if you're not vaccinated, it's your fault. It's not his. It's not the virus's fault. No, it's our fault. We should not be allowed to live unless we get a vaccination. So he came out and talked about that. And then he took some questions, which we already showed you one. But now we're going to play a clip from the press conference. Not press conference, from his remarks. And then we're going to get to about three more maybe questions. And we're going to do this instead of go to the real press briefing today. We're going to start with him talking about how the private sector is stepping up, which left me with a question. Let's see if you can guess it.
And the private sector is stepping up as well. Even Fox has vaccination requirements. I want to thank Walmart, Google, Netflix, Disney, Tyson Foods for their recent actions requiring vaccination for employees. Look, I know this isn't easy, but I will have their backs and the backs of other private public sector leaders if they take such steps. But others have declined to step up. I find it disappointing. And worst of all, some state officials are passing laws or signing orders that forbid people from doing the right thing. As of now, 7 states not only ban mask mandates, but also ban them in their school districts, even for young children who cannot get vaccinated. Some states have even banned businesses and universities from requiring workers and students to be masked or vaccinated. And the most extreme of those measures is like the one in Texas that says state universities or community colleges could be fined if it allows a teacher to ask her unvaccinated students to wear a mask. What are we doing? COVID-19 is a...
What are we doing? What are we doing? Maybe protecting freedoms, but that's okay. Who cares about freedom? And again, I on one end, I don't like mask mandates. I don't like the government telling me what to do. I don't always see the problem with the mask. I don't like wearing it, but if it makes people happy, I mean, why not also tell us to wear matching t-shirts or hats or what to eat and what to drink, what kind of light bulbs to use, what kind of shower heads that we can buy. Why not just really order our whole lives? What does it matter as long as we get to go to some New York City entertainment? That's right. Wear a mask. Be vaccinated. You don't have to wear a mask. if you're vaccinated, pretty much you got to wear a mask. But anyway, all that I will leave to more experts than I. I have a question. What does he mean, I've got your back? What's he going to do? Let's say the board at Walmart got together, which they wouldn't, and they're not, and fired the CEO for making that recommendation or that rule that everybody has to wear a mask that works at Walmart. What's he going to do for him? Put him in the cabinet? I mean, what does it mean, I have your back? I've got your backs. What? I don't... See, it's things like that about this I don't even understand. Well, I mean, okay, so they're doing it great. Great or not, depends on how you feel. Danny, how do you feel about all this mask stuff? The virus is going to peak. I agree with the expert from Minnesota. Masks, I don't think they help. My opinion, I'm not trying to keep anybody from doing. I haven't got the vaccine yet. Why haven't you? I'm a procrastinator. I mean, really, this is really yesterday's show. See, I'm just now getting it on. There's things I'm not sure about, but I am sure that if you don't get it, you're not going to be able to do much outside the state of Florida and Texas and South Dakota. Anyway, I don't know what he means. I've got your back. And why don't they come up with... Now, this is just a suggestion. I'm not arguing anything, YouTube. Settle down. Just why don't they come up with some hard, fast data on what masks do and don't do? Anyway, we have a question about Abbott and DeSantis. The administration hates them.
Do you believe that Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott are personally making decisions that are harming their own citizens?
I believe the results of their decisions are not good for their constituents. And it's clear to me and to most of the medical experts that the decisions being made, like not allowing mask mandates in school and the like, are bad health policy. Bad health policy.
So, Governor Abbott, Governor DeSantis, get in line with this man. He's trying to save us. People worried about fake ballots and fake viruses. We all know. Which there's not. I don't want to open another door. I'm just rambling on. It's a very real virus. People have died from it. I don't dispute that. But each state has its own right to do things. Now, at the end of that, you notice it's clear to him and most medical experts. So, if it's clear to him, is he calling himself a medical expert? I don't know. I don't know. Why do they pick on me when there's so much to pick on with him? All right, this is Doocy asking a doozy about virus problems at the border, which Biden had a little note so he knew how to answer. Watch carefully.
President, I have a question about something that you just said.
I'm sure you do.
Thank you. You just said there is no wall high enough and no ocean wide enough to protect us from the virus. So what is the thinking behind letting untested and unvaccinated migrants cross the southern border into U.S. cities in record numbers?
There is, what we're doing, we have not withdrawn the order that is sometimes critical or criticized, saying that unvaccinated people should go back across the border. But unaccompanied children is a different story, because that's the most humane thing to do, is to test them and to treat them and not send them back alone.
Follow-up,
Mr. President.
That is really not what is happening at the border, as if we have time, we will see. Or maybe we should just go there now. I mean, what does it matter, the last one? Oh, well, we'll play it. Well, but didn't Ducey look dejected there? Didn't get his follow-up? Biden can't stand him. Just not afraid of him. Not afraid to man up with Ducey.
Possibly can. Thank you.
Administration is about to announce a new partial eviction moratorium, COVID-related. Can you tell us any more about that, and are you sure it's going to pass Supreme Court muster?
The answer is twofold. One, I've sought out constitutional scholars to determine what is the best possibility that would come from executive action or the CDC's judgment. What could they do that was most likely to pass muster constitutionally? The bulk of the constitutional scholarship says that it's not likely to pass constitutional muster, number one. But there are several key scholars who think that it may, and it's worth the effort. But the present, the court's already ruled on the present eviction moratorium. So I think what you're going to see, and I want to make it clear. I told you I would not tell the Justice Department or the medical experts, the scientists, what they should say or do. So I don't want to get ahead. The CDC is to make this. I asked the CDC to go back and consider other options that may be available to them. You're going to hear from them what those other options are. I have been informed they're about to make a judgment as to potential other options. Whether that option will pass constitutional measure with this administration, I can't tell you. I don't know. There are a few scholars who say it will, and others who say it's not likely to. But at a minimum, by the time it gets litigated, it will probably give some additional time while we're getting that $45 billion out to people who are, in fact, behind in the rent and don't have the money. That's why it was passed in the act that we passed in the beginning of my administration, and it went to the states. We were under the impression that the states were moving this money out relatively rapidly. So, for example, if I'm in an apartment, if you're in an apartment, and you're behind on 4 or 5 months rent, and let's say your rent is $2,000 a month, I'm just making this up out of the blue, and you're behind, you need $10,000 to catch up. Hardly anybody has that $10,000. But there's money that the states have that can give to the landlord that $10,000 through the back rent. The future rent is unlikely, at least the hope is, since they have been made whole to that point, that they'd be inclined, because the economy is growing, inclined not to throw someone out in the street, keep that person, no guarantee, keep that person in the apartment, keep the kids in the same school district, and count on being able to have the opportunity for that person to be able, who may now be employed, to pay their rent. But in the meantime, I've asked that, is there any safety valve we can put in? And it's the one I explained to you. Again, CDC will announce that and the details of exactly how it works. I'm not telling, I told them I want them to take a look. I didn't tell them what they had to do. And my hope is it's going to be a new moratorium that in some way, and I'm not going to announce it now, let them announce it, in some way covers close to 90% of the American people who are renters. And so that's all I can tell you now. Thank you very much.
What's the difference?
Because it's let them explain that to you, okay? I don't want to get too far ahead. Thank you.
President, is COVAX doing enough to get shots in arms?
Why not call Governor DeSantis, Mr. President? to deliver the message that you seem to be delivering today about get out of the way.
See, he says the majority of medical experts, but then he says the majority of constitutional scholars don't think this new plan will pass. But some do. Now, if we say some medical experts say you don't wear a mask, we're bad. But he says, hey, in this case, we can go with the minority opinion because it fits our purposes. And he even admits if it doesn't pass, if the Supreme Court says, no, this isn't good enough either, it'll buy us some time. They're just doing it. Why didn't he already do it? He could sign it. Why is he going through the CDC? I don't know. Again, my feeling, anyone who is facing eviction because of how the government handled the coronavirus crisis, then they should have their rent paid. All right, so he talked about the policy at the border. Let's look at this because there's some interesting developments, ladies and gentlemen, and none of it has to do with fake ballots or glitches. CDC extends policy allowing fast-track deportations of immigrants. That's right, lots on this. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Monday extended a controversial Trump-era policy that expels migrants to prevent the spread of COVID. Why it matters? The Biden administration has faced backlash for retaining the Title 42 policy, which allows border officials to turn back migrant families to Mexico without the chance for asylum. The ACLU on Monday asked a court to end the administration's use of Title 42. The Biden administration had planned to end the policy last month, but reconsidered as coronavirus cases began to surge due to the Delta variant. Of course, he says all they do is allow in children. They don't let anybody else in. In the first half of the year, migrant adults were expelled more than 350,000 times under the order. What they're saying, Title 42 is not an immigration authority, but a public health authority, and its continued use is dictated by CDC and governed by the CDC's analysis of public health factors, the CDC said in a statement. Under Title 42, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, continues to expel the majority of single adults and, to the extent possible, families encountered at the southwest border, the agency noted. Where possible. While we continue to defer to public health experts on decisions related to Title 42, the Biden-Harris regime continues... Is it okay to say regime? Must I say administration? I'm asking you to. Help me out. Does regime keep people from voting, or does it make people want to vote more? I'm not sure. The Biden-Harris regime administration, how about that, continues to work to build a fair, orderly, and humane immigration system, including by expanding lawful pathways to the United States and discouraging irregular migration. How many times have we heard that? And what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Can you tell us, Rod Ruddy, what does that mean?
Angela Fuentes, come on down!
The other side, not the far side, the other side. The regime said it just needed a little bit of time to repair the damage done to the asylum system by the Trump administration. The ACLU's lead attorney on the case, Lee Gellert, or whatever, told Axios on Monday, it's now been 7 months and there is no end in sight to the Title 42 policy. And there's no end in sight to the pandemic. We have to wear masks again. Come on, fair's fair. Worth noting, Mexican officials have resisted the continuation of Title 42, while two prominent advocacy groups have stopped working with the Biden regime on humanitarian exceptions over concerns about the policy, the Associated Press reports. But then, Oh, you say, oh, wait, there's more? Now we have this. Mexico bars U.S. from returning many migrant families, threatening to make border crisis worse. So we can't just return them to Mexico. It's like, why can't we just stop people from coming in? It's our border. Why is that Mexico's problem? They let them cross over. Mexico has barred the United States from sending migrant families back across the border using emergency measures. So you got to stop them from crossing the border, then they're Mexico's problem. Using emergency measures put in place at the start of the pandemic, the Washington Examiner has learned a development that threatens to exacerbate the border crisis. The decision to prohibit a great number of non-Mexican migrant families from returning to Mexico is expected to force Border Patrol to release more people into the U.S. because it lacks space at existing facilities to hold the thousands coming into custody daily. And we will be getting new numbers on those thousands very shortly. More than 20,000 people were encountered last week in the busiest of the border's 9 regions. That's one region. The Rio Grande Valley, it marked the most people ever apprehended in a week in the region. Late last week, Mexico quietly began refusing to accept certain groups of migrant families who were caught at the border. The groups were families taken into custody crossing the border in one area but pushed back into Mexico hundreds of miles away on another part of the border. A senior Custom and Border Protection official told the Washington Examiner, confirming a local report. For example, because the Tamaulipas state, I have no idea, of Mexico across from the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas stopped allowing many families to be returned earlier this year, the Border Patrol began flying migrants to El Paso. We reported on that. El Paso, Texas, is there another? Once in El Paso, the families are pushed back into Mexico. That will no longer be possible as an unspecified number of Mexican states along the border have stopped accepting families returning from a different state from where they initially crossed. A spokeswoman for Mexico's National Institute of Migration declined to comment. Well, of course. The new policies in Mexico mean the situation has changed. Mexico won't accept Title 42 from other areas along the border, the official wrote the Washington Examiner. So, we've got some problems right here in River City, and we have this one we can throw up. That's the start of spelling Democrats. Enough people crossed the border in 2021 to create the 10th largest city in the U.S. Not Democrats. U.S. authorities encountered roughly 210,000 people at the southwest border in July, according to preliminary data gathered by the Associated Press from Assistant Secretary for Border and Immigration Policy, David Shahulian. So, 10th largest city. That's bad, that's bad, that's bad. Let's give you this shot and then we'll move on to the end. This is a little video of what was estimated to be about 1,000 people waiting under a bridge as Border Patrol figures out what to do with them. Okay, that's all of that for today. We have a little bit of inside information, which means what, who, where? Oh yeah, we're almost done. Been an interesting show though, don't you think? What do you think, Charlie? playing a little air piano there with the silver fox, as they called him. Some Godformation, inside information behind those closed doors. You will know it. It will come out in the press later, as we note every now and then. The press is now seen as the team's enemy. They are pushing too hard, the press, on too many items. They didn't want an adversarial press, but now feel that they must be stronger with the press at least until campaign time, and then they'll be back buddy-buddy again. The hope is that the virus will spike by mid-August, and by Labor Day, all will be going in the right direction. They would like Fauci to say that, but no one wants to suggest it, as they are afraid of what he might say on television shows. He is not seen as an ally at all, because he's pretty much about himself. They have been leaning hard on teachers' unions, but can't get solid yeses on starting back to school. So they are not happy with that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another thrilling show. We hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understand now YouTube's policy. So when you publish on YouTube, do not mention zombies voting, fake ballots, or glitches. It will get you in trouble. Especially if you mention zombies voting in great enough numbers to change the election results of the 2016 election. I don't think that happened. I never did. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, so I hope YouTube, you and I, okay, everybody understands it. I did this for you. Yes, I did. You too. Love you. Love you, team. Yeah. Bring back episode 113. Now you know my true feelings. Anyway, you can see it on Rumble, channel DANWT. So thanks for watching. A little announcement. I'm going to take at least tomorrow off, spend some time with the granddaughters. Maybe the rest of the week. You just have to check back and see if there's ever an episode 132. And if there is, it'll be a great one. Thank you for watching, though. I do appreciate it. Please share the program. We had a good viewership yesterday. Let's keep those numbers up. I know I'm leaving on a high, but I'll be back, as far as I know, by Monday. Unless, of course, I'm banned from everything because they think I believe zombies vote, which I don't. Don't even believe in zombies. Federal government does. Did you know the Department of Defense has a war strategy in case we're ever under a zombie attack? Yes, they do. So, they might believe in zombie voting, but I don't. I think if zombies came back, they're not voting. Yeah. Why would they stop and vote? They don't in other movies. Anyway, God bless you. God bless America. Pray for one another. Make your voices heard. Now's the time. Now's the time. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day, and we will see you maybe Thursday, Friday, but by Monday, gonna have some granddaughter time. Goodbye.